Okie doke. We need to have a conversation. For the past year or so, CNN, MSNBC, corporate media pundits, they have been interviewing people like Charlamagne the God, and also in this one, Angela Rye, about the campaign, the presidential campaign. Now, Charlamagne the God said that he didn't think that Joe Biden should stay in the race, but he also said that if he stayed in the race, he would still support him anyway. So he was very excited when Joe Biden did choose to step aside and pass the torch to Kamala Harris. Now, I want to explain something to you guys, because this is a conversation that we need to have. I want you to hear the way that Charlamagne the God and Angela Rye talk about Kamala Harris. And I want you to keep in mind that Kamala Harris has no platform, no presidential platform at the moment. And then I want to tell you why this is problematic when particularly it comes to the Black community, because we're not getting any concessions for our vote. Listen to this.
Joining us now, Angela Rye. She's the host of Native Land podcast. Also with us, Charlamagne the God, a co-host of the popular iHeart radio show, The Breakfast Club. Also the author of the new book, Get Honest or Die Lying, Why Small Talk Sucks. There it is. There it is. Everybody run out and get it. Angela, already conservatives are making comments aimed at Vice President Kamala Harris's race. Listen to what Republican Congressman Tim Burchett told CNN today.
Biden said, first off, he said he's going to hire a black female for vice president, and that he just skipped over. What about white females? What about any other group? It just, when you go down that route, you take mediocrity, and that's what they have right now as a vice president.
So are you suggesting she was a DEI hire?
100%. She was a DEI hire.
Angela.
Now, I'll get into that with the next story, because I don't think that this is a good road to go down. I think that is only helping Kamala Harris. I'll get to that a little bit later.
What's your reaction to that?
My reaction to that is DEI didn't earn it unless you're talking about legacy admissions and some of the trust funds that many of those members of Congress have. What you have in Kamala Harris is someone who was not only a county prosecutor, a state attorney general for California, a statewide elected United States senator, and now the vice president. I don't know about you, Jake, but for the track record for most of our vice presidents, she's pretty much on par. So I would argue that it is in fact not mediocre. What is showing in this clip is this man's racism. It's very clear that he has compared blackness with mediocrity, when many of our folks in our community know that we have to be twice as good and 3 times as qualified. And that is what you have in Kamala Harris.
Charlamagne, what's your response when you hear white Republican congressman referring to Vice President Harris as a DEI hire?
I would say MAGA has a lot of DEI hires too. You know, conservatives have a lot of DEI hires, but DEI stands for delusion, entitlement, and idiocracy. Because they're delusional because they think Donald Trump is their savior. They're entitled because they're a bunch of privileged white men who want everybody else to stay in their place. And the idiocracy comes into play because that's the movie the RNC convention reminded me of the other night.
Classic film.
Let's pause here for a second. So why do they bring on people like Charlamagne and Angela Rye? Because they're a part of the status quo. You always got to remember this, right? They interview people like them because, number one, Charlamagne the God, The Breakfast Club is it's a hip hop show. This is not to say I hate The Breakfast Club, but it's a hip hop show. It's not a political show. But for whatever reason, over the past couple of years, they have interviewed political candidates, but it's not a political show. The focus is hip hop culture, Black culture, that type of thing. There are a number of Black commentators, Black political commentators that are never brought onto these shows. You'll never see them on CNN or MSNBC. You'll never even hear about them. They'll bring on someone like Roland Martin because he came from corporate media, right? So he's still doing the bidding of the Democratic Party. None of these people will ever tell you that You need to step away from the two-party system that the Democratic Party is corporate, the Republican Party is corporate. None of these people that they bring on here, the Black people that they bring on to speak for the Black community, are telling you what working class Black people are actually saying out in the streets. This is why I started independent media, because I would watch this over and over again. And I'm like, dude, that is not what people are saying. So they then become the spokesperson for the Black community, but they're not representative of the majority of Black Americans in the Black community. And this is important for people to really understand. This is done on purpose. They are there to continue to maintain and to protect the status quo. They are there to make sure that we don't rock the boat. By we, I mean the Black community, because you guys know this. You know that Black people, more of us, have left the Democratic Party. And this didn't just start with Joe Biden. This has been over the years. Since Obama's presidency, it has happened over the years. You guys know this, right? So they bring on people like Charlamagne the God and Angela Rye, who they're both still, they're corporates, because they are the ones that they have very popular shows. The Breakfast Club, I think, is like still the #1 radio show in the country. So they reach millions of people. So they need to bring those people on so that, again, Black people know not to rock the boat and do something different. This is important for people to get. Let's continue on.
By Mike Judge. You previously, Charlamagne, you previously called both Joe Biden and Donald Trump trash candidates, and you said you would vote in this election, but you would not endorse Biden. Now that he's out, do you think you might endorse Vice President Kamala Harris should she get the nomination?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely would endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. I supported Kamala Harris in 2020 when she ran for president. I was out there on the campaign trail with her. She was the only reason that I voted for the Biden-Harris ticket to begin with. And, we have our, disagreements on air and off air. But I think that, she is the perfect person, to be to fight in these unprecedented times right now.
Okay, pause. So notice that he didn't say anything about her platform. He didn't say anything about her policies. And I had this conversation with someone earlier today, and they mad at me, but that's okay. They're mad at me because they said, are you seriously going to vote third party in this two-party system in this country? You're going to mess around and we're going to get Donald Trump. And I said, well, no, I'm not going to mess around and cause you to get anything. If Donald Trump wins, it will be because Joe Biden's presidency wasn't good for the people economically, which I have been talking about over and over again. So there's that. But there's just this mentality among Black voters in the Black community that you're just supposed to get in line with the Democratic Party. The majority of Black Americans don't even vote. So for those that do, it's like we're supposed to do that. And if we don't do that, then we're a problem. And it's not like I'm a Republican. I'm not even on the right. I'm just like, nah, I don't really fuck with either one of these parties. My last time doing this was Bernie 2020. After that, I said, that's it, I'm done, because I know how the game is. So I don't want to be a part of these corporate parties. That's my choice. Now, what I see happening is there's a number of them, and it's on social media too. There's a number of people now, all of a sudden, Black voters just getting on board for Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris hasn't presented any policies to you. She hasn't laid out any platform. What is Kamala Harris running on? And everybody just got in line. And that's the problem that I have. I'm tired of that. I want us to ask for concessions for our vote the same way I've seen other groups do this. I have seen Latino community ask for concessions when it comes to immigration policy, and I've seen them get some of those concessions. I've seen the Jewish community do the same thing. They're doing it right now. But when it comes to Black voters, you're just supposed to get in line and just support the Democratic Party just because they're not the Republican Party. And this is why the Democratic Party feels they don't need to do anything for us. Now, I don't think it makes me a bad person to say that we need to have some concessions for our votes. So you have the demands and we need to get concessions. And since this is an incumbent, since Joe Biden is still in office, some of these things could be done right now. I mean, it's crazy. And I say this to people and they lose their freaking minds. You're not going to support her? She's a woman. You're not going to support her? She's black. What's wrong with you? I thought we all learned this lesson from Obama 2008. No, I thought Obama taught us not to just jump on board with someone because they have the same complexion as us. Because that doesn't mean that they're going to implement policies that's actually going to make things better for the black community. You're going to talk about how black wealth tanked under Barack Obama's presidency. And I thought we all learned that lesson, but apparently not. People are doing it again. Everybody get on board. No policies, no platform.
Angela,
Absolutely.
what do you make of Donald Trump saying that he is building support among black voters?
I don't. I make the same thing out of it that exists. It's absolutely nothing. It's a nothing burger. Donald Trump does not have a tremendous track record with black people. I think many of us can see through the lies, the parallels that he's trying to make with his, entanglements with the system are not real. There are black folks who are struggling to make and pay legal bills every day, struggling to figure out how they're going to raise bail money. Meanwhile, in Georgia, Governor Kemp signed a bill into law that would prevent organizations that help people make bail. He prevented that. That is Donald Trump's, it's someone who's just like Donald Trump. It's Donald Trump's legacy playing out in states. When you look at what Project 2025 is all about, we know that most of those policies will hit us harder than anywhere else. When you look at what the Supreme Court has done with the 3 appointments from Donald Trump, we know that those policies are impacting us more than anyone else. So in our community, folks don't get immunity, right? He's offering immunity for police, for law enforcement, and he has immunity himself. That's something that we don't ever have. In fact, we are guilty until proven innocent in our community. So there's no there. I think that at best, he gets 16% of the black vote. And I think even that's a stretch.
Let me just pause and interrupt here and just say something, because I don't think Angela understands what she just said. So first and foremost, I heavily disagree with the immunity for the police. You guys know how I feel about the popo. I heavily disagree with Trump with that. Heavily disagree. Don't like the popo. That is me. But one of the things that she said here, she said that he'll probably get 16% of the vote. That's it. That's a significant amount, Angela. A Republican candidate receiving 16% of the black vote, that's actually a big deal. Right now, he's polling at 21% of the black vote, Angela. I showed the polls on here the other day. 21% of the black vote right now. That's the most recent poll. That's actually a big deal. So she's shrugging this off like that's no big deal. No, who else had that? George W. Bush didn't have that. Donald Trump didn't have it in 2016. He didn't have it in 2020. So why is she pretending like that's not a big deal? That's a big deal. I showed you the numbers the other night, right? That he had 7 or 8-ish% of the black vote, 2016. The polls show he has 21% support now. So he's increased. No, I'm not saying that the Republican Party now has 50% of the black vote. No, but it's increasing. So what does that tell you? We'll continue on. Wait a minute. Project 2025. That was another thing she said. JB and I went over Project 2025 on RBN and we broke it down. Guys, a lot of those things in Project 2025 have already been happening for years. It's not new. Most people don't have time to sit down and look at 900 pages. In fact, Yvette Carnell just went over Project 2025 on her channel. Go look at it. She sums it up for you. Now, I'm not here to tell you what's in Project 2025 is good. No, it's not good, but it's also not new. So I don't know why they're continuing to do. You see what I mean? Let's continue.
Angela, Vice President Harris's advisors say that her campaign is going to lean heavily into the choice between her as a prosecutor and Donald Trump as a convicted felon. Do you think that's wise? Is that what voters want, a prosecutor?
I think there's never been a time where voters would want a prosecutor more. You have someone who has.
See, now they pushing the police. So now here comes Angela pushing the police. I don't want a prosecutor for president. Just like I didn't want Eric Adams to be mayor of New York. I didn't want a cop to be mayor of New York. And I don't want a prosecutor for president.
A proven track record, again, as a prosecutor, as a state's attorney, as an attorney general, rather. And she has demonstrated that she knows how to prosecute cases against the most corrupt among us. And I think
she prosecuted Black people. She threw Black parents in jail. She went against the Black working class. She took Black parents out of the home and put them in prison for truancy. Well, their kid wasn't at school. Okay, then you implement programs that can help the child. You implement programs that can help them. A lot of these are single parents working multiple jobs. You don't throw the parent in jail so now the child ends up in the system and belongs to the state. So I don't get this. Bragging about this prosecutor record, no. Because if you're going to talk about it, you got to go all the way in. Her prosecutor record is problematic, Angela. And Angela knows that. But again, why are they on there? Why is it Angela and Charlamagne? Because they are there to maintain the status quo. And Angela and Charlamagne are there to make sure that the Black community stays in the Democratic Party. That's what this is all about. They know Black people have been leaving. The numbers have continued to decline since 2012. Since 2012, Barack Obama, the numbers have continued to decline. You don't never see them bring on people off the streets. Do you see CNN interview everyday Black folk in Roxbury, in the Bronx? Do you see this happen in Oakland? No, they bring on these people who are already well off financially. Charlamagne is doing very well financially. They're not talking to the Black poor people. They're not talking to low-income Black people. So you're not getting the full picture.
Donald Trump is absolutely that. We're talking about someone with 88 indictments, well, less the case that was just thrown out by his appointed judge. But Donald Trump is someone who needs to face his record. His record is filled with criminality long before he went through the White House doors. And I think that needs to be tried. It has not been adequately tried. I'm eager to see if there will be a debate between the two of them. But her campaign, I think, wrote out yesterday demonstrating that contrast. And I think that's exactly where they have to stay, in addition to demonstrating how it will be a win for voters to vote for Kamala Harris. So they need to know what they're voting against, certainly, but also what they're getting in voting for her.
What are you getting? So this is where we got to bring up, folks. What exactly are you getting from Kamala Harris? She has no platform. What are you getting? You see, once again, we have this situation where I think a lot of people that I've spoken to so far, they want to vote for, they're like, I want a female president. I heard this 2016 with Hillary too. I want a female president. They don't care about the policies, anything. Oh, I'm going to vote for it. And you're going to see a panel about this in just a second. Oh, I want to vote for her because she's Black. And some people have had some disagreement over that. There's been disagreements over the whole Black thing. But it's just, this is America. Like, nobody looking at policies, principles, and and then there are those that are voting against Donald Trump. Like, they may not love Kamala Harris, but they want to vote against Donald Trump. How did that work out for Joe Biden in 2020 when people were mainly voting against Donald Trump, right? What are we getting, Angela? What are we getting with Kamala? She didn't even tell you because she don't know.
Charlamagne, in your new book, you write,
Jake, I don't even know if that's the right question. People, asking if America's ready for a prosecutor. I mean, is America ready for, somebody with all of the criminal charges that Donald Trump has? Right. I mean, in most jobs, most convicted felons can't even, get those kind of jobs that Donald Trump is currently campaigning for. They barely can get jobs at McDonald's. They barely can get jobs at McDonald's and Walmart. So it's weird. It's weird to have to say, is America ready for a prosecutor? No. Is America ready to elect a criminal?
Joining us now.
So there's that, right? And the thing is, a lot of people, if you ask them, and I look at the polls, and I think I did a poll on this channel about this before too, a lot of Americans, they don't care. Eugene Debs ran for president from prison. A lot of them don't care about that when a lot of their focus is mainly the economy. People want the economy fixed. People want to be able to have a decent living in this country. And it has not been that way under the Biden administration. It's been tough. And I told you guys, I hated to admit this because I don't like Trump. I hated to admit that financially things were better for me under him. It killed me to admit that, you know, like that kind of stuff just killed. That killed me. I was like, "Grr." It killed me to admit it, but that was the reality. Now I'm going to show you this panel and you're just going to see, you got to see this. You've got to hear this. So this panel, and shout out to Roger for sending this to me. This is a panel here, and I don't know if this was a Zoom call or whatever. Anyway, it was a panel about Kamala Harris for president. And I want you to hear what one of these women is going to say about why she wants to support Kamala. Listen to this.
I'm going to just be real honest with this. She's a Black woman.
Yeah, because they skin folk, not kin folk.
I think it goes back to what somebody was saying, where it's not voting for someone, but majority will vote for somebody else just. Hold on. Let me line this out.
I think majority.
Is it only because she a Black woman?
Yeah.
Do you not see how that's a bad idea?
Elaborate.
Okay.
Before he elaborates, because he gets into the thick of it, I just got to say this. Do you see the problem? This is why we don't get anything as a community. This is why the Democratic Party doesn't do anything for us as a community, because they know we'll support them anyway because they're not the Republicans. And what I'm saying to you is that if you are choosing to go that route, you need to ask for some concessions, which as a Black community, we do not do. No Black agenda, no vote. Why is that even a bad thing to even mention? Other groups do this. Other groups say nothing for immigration, nothing for DACA. You're not getting our vote. Other groups do this. But for some reason, when it comes to the Black community, we don't do this. We don't ask for anything. Well, it's just crazy. And it's almost like some people feel like, oh no, I can't do that because I'm embarrassed to do. Why are you embarrassed? This party has done nothing for you. The communities have fallen apart. When I go back to visit family in Baltimore, it looks like someone dropped a bomb off in Baltimore. And it's looked that way since I was a kid. The parts of DC that have been renovated have been gentrified. So the Black neighborhoods in DC that were once Black are no longer that way, because once they improved the city, they increased the rent and other people moved in and those people were forced out. This is reality. This is real life. The school's still falling apart. Ain't nobody fixing nothing. Nothing. You know how many people I know that are either failed out, ended up in jail, or dead? That's my reality, fam. People don't understand this. People think that, oh, well, Sabby was a military kid, so she traveled. Yeah, I traveled, but my family is from Baltimore. We didn't have money. My parents grew up poor, dirt poor. And it just kills me that the same people, they've been voting for the same people, the same politicians, the same party, and nothing has improved for the Black community. Why you still, I walk down the street, why is there liquor store, pawn shop, turn around the corner, liquor store, pawn shop? I don't see that in the white communities. These were all Democrat ran. And this is not to say there aren't poor neighborhoods in red states. Red states can be poor too. But the Democratic Party as a whole is not offering things to the Black community that they're willing to offer to other groups. And that is because we are not demanding it and we just go out and support them anyway. Ain't that a damn shame? Joe Biden sat up there and he told you that he was going to cancel student loan debt for the students that went to HBCUs that were making under 125K. Didn't do it. People still want to line up and vote for the Democrat. Can you explain this to me? Don't do nothing for you, nothing for your community. I watch them do things for the Latino Americans. I watch them do things for the immigrant community when it comes to DACA. You see them doing things for a migrant community right now. And this is not to say don't do those things. What I am saying, though, is they're not doing nothing for us. And we be the first ones lined up to support them. So listen to this. So he explains things to her.
So we're in 3 proxy wars with some of the most powerful leaders in the world. She failed at the border, in which we have an estimation of 15 to 20 million people illegally into this country. That is literally overtaking and bankrupting Chicago to the tune of over $400 million per year, and they are in a deficit. Oakland is going out of business. San Francisco, ditto. California, $65 billion deficit. New York, they're literally cutting trash, in which they are the rattiest, dirtiest city, and they've taken up resources as far as free healthcare, free hotels to the tune of $600 a day. They're literally taking over your schools. Your taxpayer dollars are going to fund the migrant crisis. She was supposed to be in charge of this. We have a failing economy. Every single day I see people getting on the internet talking about $30 an hour is the new minimum wage because inflation is fucking out of control. At one point, it was at almost 10%, depending on what city that you in. She has no policy, no record to stand on. One of the biggest things that she did in her career was lock up more Black men than ever before. But we sitting here and vote her in office on identity politics. The very person that she was under as far as the president of the United States of America, she called him racist during a debate, which shows you how fake she is. And the only thing that we can stand on from a policy perspective is whether or not she's Black and she's a woman. We did that during the Obama administration, and he didn't do anything for Black people. As a matter of fact, y'all complain because the only person that he did, or the only group of people that he really stood for, is the alphabet community, and that's his landmark thing that he's still standing on today. So the only thing that we have to stand on is identity politics. That shit didn't work with Tiffany Henyard in Dayton, Illinois. It didn't work with Karen Bass. It didn't work with Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. It didn't work with Brandon Johnson that then took over her position in Chicago. It didn't work with Andre Dickens in Atlanta. It didn't work with Eric Adams in New York. It doesn't work across the country. Every single Democratic city is a hellhole. And we sitting here talking about identity politics?
And I can't disagree. I can't disagree because I see it too. Same thing with Boston. It doesn't matter who was elected as mayor. Like I said, you go to the Black communities that have not been taken over by gentrification fully yet. You go to the Black communities and you just like, what the hell happened here? Nothing changed. So that's why I said again, like, we need to get concessions for our vote. And somehow that triggered a friend of mine, or who I thought was a friend of mine, that triggered them earlier today. And I've noticed something. Those who are a little bit more affluent can kind of shrug these things off. And then people wonder why more Black people don't come out and vote. Because make no mistake, the turnout for Joe Biden was not necessarily because Black people loved them some Joe Biden. It was because we didn't want Donald Trump. So you just don't get nothing. And everything is falling apart. You have a lot of Black neighborhoods in the inner city that the life expectancy drops by like 20 years compared to the white neighborhood around the corner. The asthma rates are higher. Dirty water. And y'all just be running out and just signing up to continue to vote for people who ain't doing nothing for you. You're dying at a faster rate. More disease, more illness. Don't even let me get into the whole maternity issue. But we're bad people. I'm a bad person because I don't want to go out and support Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party. I'm seeing a lot of white commentators sit up here and say, you're foolish if you don't do this. It makes sense. This is what we need to do. And all those motherfuckers are millionaires. All of them. This is not their life. They can turn off the channel when they're done. They go back to their life of luxury. They don't have to think about these things. They don't have to deal with it. Some of us do. So all I'm asking, Black people, get something for your vote. Because to me, it don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. So Barack Obama, and even this is fake. When he said it was all fake, what she did, it was an act. It was an act. Now this, Joe Biden was so bad. He was a segregationist and oh God, racist and da-da-da. But you went and worked for him. It was all a show. And this is a show too. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama finally endorsed Kamala Harris. But you can tell this is staged. Look.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I'm looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
So, and that's just the thing to me, like even that you can tell it's staged, it's scripted. You know, people saw this on social media and they were like, oh my God, Obama finally endorsed. I'm definitely in now. That means it's a shoo-in. She's going to win in a landslide. Obama endorsed a lot of people. They didn't necessarily win. So it's just, I'm like, no platform, no policies. Let me make something very clear to you, fam. They don't even want to give, for all the people fighting for reparations, they don't even want to give you reparations. After they've repaired other groups. They don't want to give you anything. They don't. What is this? Because they know that you will continue to come out and support them. And that does not make me a Trump supporter. That does not make me a Republican. That is me speaking for what I have experienced and what I've seen for my people. Just as you have seen things for your people and your group, we all have things and concerns that need to be answered. And I just want Black people to make demands. That's all. Apparently that triggered someone. Like, damn, how dare you not support Kamala Harris? I don't know this woman. I'm seeing people coming out there defending her as if they're besties with Kamala Harris and she would never do that. Do you know, Kamala? It's really weird. The hero worshiping is already starting to happen and it's not even September.